In this video, I'd like to use a drop-down select on a web page to be able to change the source of an image element. I'm also going to play around a bit with folders. So I'm in Visual Studio Code. I'm open to my JavaScript folder. I'm going to, instead of creating a file, I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to use some images by the artist Bruegel. So I'm creating a folder called Bruegel. And then I'm going to create a file there. And I'll also call that Bruegel, but .html. This is a file, and then Windows files have extensions. And then do the usual exclamation point, get the Emmet abbreviation. This is going to be Bruegel. And I'll make an H1 header that also says Bruegel. Okay, what else? I'm going to have an image element that's an img. It doesn't have an open and a close, but it's a singleton, it's a self-closer. The big property of this is the source, which is some image file that we're going to refer to. I'm just going to leave that blank for now. And then I'm going to choose the source within code. So it should have an ID. I like my IDs to have a prefix. So I'll do img, and then I'll give it a name. I'll call it Bruegel. Let's have a, let's have a break. And then on another line, I'm going to have a select. I haven't made any options in that select just yet, but those are coming, and it's going to work in code. So there's going to be a select, I'm going to select a painting, so I'll call it cell paint. I could have called it cell Bruegel, doesn't matter. And I'm going to have an event, and then calls a function, and it's going to be the change event. And I'm going to call a function called change painting. And then I'm responsible for defining that function. So I'm going to create a script area and define the function change painting. Close parenthesis, open close curly, make some space. Okay. Let me also, I'm going to be loading this image up with different image files, and they may be of different sizes. So I want some control over that size. So I'm going to give this element a style. In particular, I'm going to give it a height of, I don't know, let's say 400 pixels. Semicolon, in case I have some more properties coming later on. All right, now I'm not going to give it a height and a width because the images, the image files I'm bringing in are going to have a height and width of their own. And if I give it a height, if I give the image both a height and a width, then it's going to sort of maybe distort the image to fit the box, and I don't want that. So if I tell it only to have a certain height, then it will adjust the width accordingly. It will maintain what we call the aspect ratio, and that's what I prefer. So if I choose something that is landscaped, if it's wider than it is tall, that will be respected. If it's a portrait, if it's taller than it is wide, that will also be respected, and that's what I want. So that's why I'm only choosing one of the properties, the height. And it would work just as well if I specified just the width. Okay. What else do I want to show you? I want to show you, I have made a folder called Bruegel. Put the HTML file in there. I want to make a subfolder of Bruegel. So I'm going to click on Bruegel here and make a I clicked on Bruegel. I'm going to make a subfolder. I'm going to call that images. So let me look at that. So I'm going out to Windows. I'm on a Windows machine. I'm going out to Windows Explorer. I'm looking at Java, and I want to see all these folders I made. So here are my files. Here's my Bruegel folder. If I go into my Bruegel folder, here's my Bruegel file, my HTML file. Here is my images folder, which is a subfolder of Bruegel, which is a subfolder of JavaScript. Okay. Now, when my code in Bruegel refers to various image files, two things I need to, one, know where they are. That's why I'm playing around with the folders. So to show you different ways in which how the image files can be related to the HTML file, but I'm also going to need to know the file extension, especially say if I have a JPEG. Sometimes JPEG is .jpg and sometimes it's .jpeg. And so we need to see it and get it right as coders. And so that's going to bring us next to, I'm going to open up again in Windows, the control panel. I'm going to go to and control panel often opens in category. I hate categories, so I've already changed it to icons, but if it opened for you in category, if you're following along, then switch it to icons. I'd go to File Explorer options under the View tab, and then there's a checkbox here for the hide extensions of known file types. And I'm going to deselect that. I do not want to hide them. I'll say apply. I'll say OK. I'll close the control panel. I'm going to go back here. And now you see that for this HTML file, we are seeing now the extension. Okay, now I need some images. So I have gone to wikiart.org. I searched the artist Peter Bruegel, and I'm going to grab some of the images of that. So here's some monkeys. So I'll click that. I'm going to right click and say save the image as, and I'm going to change this name to, and where am I going? I'll put this in Bruegel, in the Bruegel folder, and call it monkeys. Okay, so that was one image I put down. Here's the Tower of Babel. I'm going to download that, and I'll put that in the images folder. And I'm going to call that Babel. I'm going to go back and grab Hunter. No. I'll do, I don't know why it keeps opening a slideshow on me. This is, I'll call it the blind. So I have something in images. I have something in Bruegel. I'm going to have something in JavaScript. I'll call that blind. And then I'm going to try to do one more. I'll do this old woman. Hopefully she won't lead me to a slideshow. And I want to put that above JavaScript just to see what happens in that case. I want to do one more thing that I'll come to later, or maybe right away, who knows. Try this magpie on the gallows. And I'm going to open that in a new tab, open the image in a new tab. And this is going to be up on the internet. And so I want to try to use an image that's on the internet rather than downloading it to my computer. Okay. So where do we stand? We created a function, but it doesn't do anything. Let's open with the live server. I have a drop-down list with no options so far, and I can't even see the image. Okay. So let's start making some options. So the simplest one is going to be, again, there's a value, and I am in Bruegel. Babel is in the images folder. So the easiest one to refer to is monkeys.jpg. And if I'm in the same location as if the image is in the same location as the HTML, then I can just refer to it using simply its names, which is monkey.jpg. I can also, if I am afraid of mistyping anything, which I sometimes am, then I can right click on the file and say rename. I'm not going to rename it, but it allows me to copy it. So I could do a copy paste. I hope I spelled monkeys correctly. And here I'm just going to say monkeys, but not the JPEG. And then let me choose another option. So I'm going to have two options. And the next one I'll do will be in the subfolder images, and that's babel.jpg. So it is images, because it's a subfolder, I refer to the name of the folder / and then the name of the file, and then .jpg, I need the extension. And then I'm going to call this one. Let's see where we are now. I haven't done anything with those options code-wise, but we should at least be able to see in the list the images. So now let's go to our function, and we will say let file name equal document. We're going to the page. Get element by ID. The ID is cell painting. I want to get the choice the user made, cell painting. I want its value, the value of the option that the user chose. And then I want to use that to set the source of the image. So again, when I'm doing something, getting something from the page, document.getElementById is on the right. When I want to do something to the page, document.getElementById is on the left. So now I'm doing something to the page. I'm doing something to the image element, getElementById. It is img Bruegel. Did I spell it right? I think I spelled it right. I want to change its source property, and I want to change it to the file name. So let's see how we're doing here. So if I change monkeys to Babel, make this a little bit bigger. There is the Tower of Babel. And then if I change to monkeys, it switches to the monkeys image. Okay, but I didn't have anything there in the beginning, and we'll talk about that. So here are my two options. Nothing happened. The source in design is blank. And I'm changing the, I have options, which are the values of the file names, including the extensions. And when the HTML, the Bruegel HTML and the monkeys were together in the same folder, they're known as, sometimes we call them siblings. then I don't need to refer to any file, and I can just refer to the file name monkeys. But when I was in a deeper folder in a subfolder, then I needed the name of the folder. So for Babel, I needed images/Babel. I had another file, which was up a layer in the blind.jpg. That was in my JavaScript folder, which is above. So let's see if we can get something that's above. And that was, now I already forgot, blind. So blind. Okay. Now to go up rather than down in the file, you use a dot dot. So dot dot means go from the folder you're in to the higher folder, the folder that contains it, or what we call the parent. And so it's dot dot slash and then blind. And that was .jpg. Okay, let's see if that worked. So now I have three choices: Babel, blind, monkeys. Okay. Now I want to see, I put something even one more up. I put something in documents. I put woman.jpg in documents. Let's see if I can go up twice. This is going to be an experiment. I'll show you how to go up twice in general, but it might not work because I'm going beyond where the server might know about. So to go up two folders, it would be dot dot slash dot dot slash. So dot dot slash takes you to the first parent, and then dot dot slash takes you to that parent's parent, or if you will, the grandparent. But that is higher. What we were serving up was JavaScript. So this might be ruled out permission-wise. So let's just see what it does. Be just an interesting experiment here. So there's woman. It would not go to woman because here the folder is this server, this 127.0.0.1.5500. That corresponds to JavaScript. When we said in Visual Studio Code, when we said the live server, it is serving up JavaScript. So we can't go above that. So this is the right approach, dot dot slash dot dot, to go up two folders. But if I go up two folders, it's beyond what the server is serving, and so it's denying me permission. So that was the experiment I wanted to try, and that is a result of that. And that makes sense permission-wise. You don't want, you have some computer, it's working, pretending to work as a server, and you don't want the user of some websites to be able to have access to files outside of what's on the website. And woman was outside of what we're serving up. Now I want to try to go to, so this was, I'm going to call it Magpie. And I'm going to work here. I've opened it up, the file in, I said, right-clicked on a file, and I said, open it on a new tab. So this isn't any page with an image on it. This is just an image on the internet. And I was just very foolish. Okay, so I copied instead of, I sort of pasted instead of copied. Now I'm copying. So now I want to do go out to the web, go use a URL. And what did I call this one? I'm going to call it Magpie. So this is a different approach you can take, is not have the images in your local website, but refer to them somewhere on the internet. There's Magpie. So Magpie works. It was a little bit slower because I'm going out to the internet, bringing it down, then displaying it. It wouldn't be, now it's cached. So if I were to try it again, it would probably be faster. So if I switch over to the blind and then come back to Magpie, now it's fast because it's cached. But that first time you could see it was a little bit slower, a little bit different from the other ones. Okay, so that is these different playing around with files. I'm referring to files. I need to know their extension. The files may be in folders. So this monkeys was in next to HTML was its sibling. So I didn't need any folder information. The images, Babel was in an images subfolder, so I needed the name of that folder. The blind.jpg was in a higher folder, but it was still within the folder that's being served as part of the website. So I could get to that by saying .. If I tried to go up 2 levels, it failed, not because that's the right way to go up 2 levels, but my website didn't go up that high. So that's why that failed. And then I can have an absolute location on the internet. And that's what this Magpie version was. Okay. And now just one more little playing around. When my page starts, I don't have anything in the image. Well, one thing I could do is just pick one of these, except the woman, because that doesn't work, but I could pick the monkeys, say, and just put that in here. Monkeys, put it in as the image. Okay. What I want to do, and that would work, but I want to do something different. Just to torture you guys, I want to say JavaScript event trigger. And I think I've told you in the past, I tend to like W3 schools and Stack Overflow. And this is a little more complicated of a thing. And so I'm going to go to Stack Overflow this time. And there are different telling me ways to do it. There is this thing called dispatch an event. And that's what I want. And here is I'm getting an element, which we know that well. And then here is dispatching an event. So it's going to sort of pretend that there was an event that there wasn't. It's going to pretend there was a change in the drop-down list. So let's just try, let's copy that. Control C. And now, here's a thing that I don't think we've talked about before. We've usually been putting our code inside functions because and then the functions get called by events. But now we want to not have, if we don't have an event, we want to call an event. That's what we're doing now, is calling an event. So I don't want to put the code in an event. I just want to put it in the script. But I'm going to refer to the page. But since my script tags are underneath the elements on the page, that will be understood. So I can put this code here, Control V. Let me line things up a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to get an element. What was my ID? It was cell painting. And then I'm going to, for that element, I'm going to dispatch an event of the change type. So it will be like the user chose a painting. And now we see that when we start the page, when I refresh the page, it's like the user chose the monkeys, because that was what seems to be chosen by the user. And if I don't want it to be the monkeys, we played this game before. What if we said selected? And what if I make Babel the selected one to start off with? Then there it is. So it is like the user came in and chose Babel, and it has that effect of sort of executing the code for us. So now this code is very simple. All it does is change the source, the image's source, to be equal to the file name, but we might do other things. And so I could just in design come up here and put the image name. But with this approach of dispatching an event, any code I have here gets run. Whereas if I put in the source, that's the only thing that happens is the source. So this has the possibility of doing more. Okay, I think that is, what I wanted to show you. So we played around with an image element. We used a drop-down select to change the source of that image element. We played with different locations of the files. We talked about needing the file extension. I guess I could show that, take out the JPEG and monkeys and see what happens. I get a problem. So the file extensions were important. Put that back. So we wanted to use the drop-down select to control the source of an image element. We are using the value of the options, what the user sees, and what we use behind the scenes are different because we have the .jpeg in the value and not in what the user sees. We also have the folder structure. Images was a subfolder. And so Babel was in the images subfolder. So here in line 16, we see how to handle a file that's in a subfolder. In 17, blind.jpg was in what we call the parent folder. And so the ... refers to go up to your parent. I don't have to name your parent. You sort of know the name of your parent. You can access things below you, but things above you, you don't need to know the name. You just say, it's my parent, go and do it. ... / ... would be the grandparent, if you will, but that didn't work in this case because of what is being served by our live server is JavaScript. So this was taken outside of the JavaScript folder, which was what was being served, and that's why that did not work. And then we had an option where we are going out to the web. So we were using a sort of a hard-coded HTTP starting address. We got a value from the page. We used that value then to populate the source property of the image. And we learned how to, what I often call trigger, but they're calling in JavaScript, dispatch an event to sort of make it seem like the user has already selected something. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you in this example. Thanks for your attention.